Hey, Welsh Metals here. Today I'll be taking apart a desktop power supply, an ATX-450 model, 450 watts, to see what's inside. Should be quite a bit of copper and other materials. Got lots of zinc plated copper cable here. And this is extremely dusty inside, so I'm doing it outside due to the dust hazard. Some tools here that I will be using. These cables are actually gold plated, and these connectors, that's an SATA cable there, and these Molex is silver plated. These are things like powering CD disk drives and floppy disks, things like that. So let's take this apart and see what we can find. Try and get a nice angle here. It's only 3 degrees out here, so I intend to not be too long. Already undone some of these screws in order to speed this up a little bit. As I said, it is only 3 degrees. Cold enough to make your eyes water. That, and there is quite a bit of ice around. Just chilled this pathway considerably. That metal is absolutely freezing on my hands. So the case just slides off, as you can see. Useful metal, this, for a little case of some sort. Good platform for holding things in a shed or some such. So, extremely dusty. Let's have a close-up look. Look at all that smeggy dust there. That's the dust that I'm on about. That stuff's just mainly human skin. Ew. So, quite hazardous material. Lots of good components in there, as you can see. You can see some germanium-based diodes there, Zener diodes. These things. That sort of orangey colour. Lots of copper on the transformers, the toroidal transformers there. Some aluminium on these capacitors. More screws to be undone. Lots of resistors. Some of these can contain small microfilaments of gold or silver. Some capacitors there. Some exotic looking capacitors that may contain things like tantalum. Rare metal. Got a fuse by there, that'll have a silver element within it. In the centre, a few transformers coming round here. These all have copper within them. Lots of MOSFETs and power switching transformers. These can all contain silver and quite a lot of copper also. This big heat sink on the back is all copper alloy, which is quite useful. This is also aluminium here. Spin that round, got some large capacitors, good for recovery if they still work, which some of them should do. This is an old but functional power supply. I'm scrapping it because I no longer have a use for it due to the motherboard die that went with it. And these are quite cheap. And the materials inside, such as copper, are constantly going up in value, so that's why I'm scrapping this thing. Mainly for its copper content. So let's undo more screws. Got that cable in there. Get that, remove that. Look at that, big chunk of dust. Nasty. I'll brush that out first. Save my breath. Oh, thirsty. Ew. Oh, there's the fan. Will that come straight out? It's all crimps everywhere. Scissors. Lots of zip ties. They're quite common. These cables can be just sliced right off. I usually do that. We'll recover most of the materials off the board anyway, even these scraps of wire. I'm better off using these clippers. Yeah. Bit slower. Makes the getting into the board quite a bit easier because there's screws behind it. Whoa! My phone fell off its stand. That was unfortunate. As you can see, I'm already halfway through. My phone is on an elevated platform, as you can probably tell. It's quite tough, this material, as it is zinc coated copper. Many uses for this type of wire. Electronics and DIY projects and such, as it is high voltage wire. It can carry up to 30 amps or more. So it's good for things like lithium battery projects, things like that. As you can see, you get quite a lot of it as well. Side over here. Well, that's good material. Wow, how'd that fan get under there? Someone must have soldered this wrongly, or very strangely, all the wires are underneath threaded. Very, very dusty fan. Some of that dust off. That'll do. This is functional. Actually sold a few job lots of fans like that. Good price. As they are useful for things like DIY house fans, making giant ones and things like that. Should be some more goodies underneath this board. So the board has been freed, finally. Have an examination. Indeed, massive amounts of tin and antimony silver solder. Probably only has a very small percentage of silver within it, mostly tin and antimony, both worth quite a bit at the moment. Now, from power supplies like this, you should be getting something like around 1/4 of an ounce, around several grams, if you manage to get every single bit of it. Quite a lot. The older the board, the better, and the more silver solder you will be getting. So, let's have a quick look upon this. More germanium diodes there, orangey things. That's a temperature sensor, I believe. Got some diodes there, blocking diodes made of black ceramic material. These again, as I mentioned earlier, similar to the resistors, large resistors, can contain small microfilaments of gold and silver within the center, but usually in larger resistors like this one or that one there, these types can contain microfilaments within the center. I've seen evidence of anyway. These different coloured capacitors here may contain different elemental components, or be completely different chemistry within them, as opposed to these black and other different coloured capacitors. They can contain things like tantalum or even platinum. Anything hiding behind there? Doesn't look like. No, there is not. Look at that, very, very shiny copper. I've used this in a variety of jewellery craft and other projects. It's quite useful wire, very shiny, good material. And I also have from these type transformers, once they're removed and cleaned, of course. Lots of good material here for salvage and crafts and other. And a little last look at all that shiny solder on the back. Quite cold today. Lots of ice on the pathway down there, as you can see. Well, that was the ATX power supply teardown. Not much left there. Some power jacks, silver or zinc plated, possibly. Have to check. Got a fan. Lots of zinc plated copper wire. And a large circuit board covered in all sorts of goodies. We got copper, aluminium, tin, antimony, silver, and possibly platinum, small traces of gold and other materials, but not much in that regard. But lots of copper, that's for sure, and lots of tin and antimony. So that's what these are good for salvaging for. Till next time.